Now time for the 7 things you'll be talking about today. Number 7.
I put this at number 7. It probably should be higher, but the war on Ukraine may be coming to an end, with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky emphasizing the need for the conflict to end, quote, as soon as possible, end quote, during a meeting with the Vatican Secretary of State. I didn't know they had that, but okay. That was after Trump's speech, obviously, at the Republican National Convention, where he signaled he would end the war. Russian President Vladimir Putin, sound like Joe Biden there for a second. Vladimir Putin said, I did that on purpose, it may agree, but is skeptical. Russian ally China is signaling that they're ready for this thing to end as well. And both sides need to come to the table and be honest about what they want. And then they will help facilitate this whole thing. Now, again, the Chinese and the Russians are working together, so just keep that much in mind. But there's some movement here.
Number 6.
2 massive failures for the American media, the mainstream media yesterday, and I'm only counting 2. There were actually far more, but these are the 2 I wanted to talk about. They're trying to force America to see Vice President Kamala Harris as a competent person and a victim during her rollout as a presidential candidate. A concerted media effort is underway to suggest that Kamala Harris was never the border czar. In fact, they don't even know what a border czar is. They're confused. Border czar? Never heard that term before. Oh, what do you mean I said border czar? I don't know. Someone else must have wrote that. The media and their Democrats are playing along. They're also trying to suggest that Brian Kilmeade on Fox News said that Kamala Harris was going to speak to a colored sorority when he obviously said college sorority. Again, what's the argument here? Kamala Harris has to be a victim, even if we have to make it up. And she supported Jussie Smollett, so it makes sense.
Number 5.
The desperation to force some weird love onto Vice President Kamala Harris is underway. I just mentioned it. But a pollster with the Trump campaign reassures prospective voters that despite a temporary increase in Kamala Harris's approval ratings due to positive media coverage, her polling numbers will eventually reflect her perceived failures as vice president. And CNN's pollster tends to agree. Democrat strategist James Carville, it's the economy, stupid guy. That guy, yeah, he is out there saying, you guys better chill out with this. The American people will see through this enthusiasm that the media is out there pushing, and Kamala Harris will come back to earth. There's a tough race ahead for Vice President Kamala Harris. So this thing isn't over by any stretch of the imagination. The honeymoon has to end eventually, and eventually you're going to wake up and see the bride's ugly.
Number 4.
Auburn's men's basketball coach Bruce Pearl flamed Vice President Kamala Harris yesterday on social media for refusing to preside over a joint session of Congress when Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke. Now, I've said this before. She's out campaigning, so is J.D. Vance. I'm not upset about this whole boycott thing on her end. I get it. She has a justifiable reason. She should have been there, don't get me wrong, but whatever. Accusing her of fanning the flames of anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism, which she is also doing. Pearl's been vocal about his political views on social media rather bravely. Might be the bravest man in all of sports, Bruce Pearl from Auburn. He's been very outspoken since the October 7th Hamas attacks on Israel, which, by the way, a Hamas flag was raised in America at an anti-Israel protest. It's just amazing stuff. Amazing stuff to see.
Number 3.
Attorney General Steve Marshall, I think, doing a very great thing. He and 10 other state attorneys general are vocally opposing the United States Justice Department's move to reclassify marijuana from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3 substance. The argument is weed good, when in reality, weed bad. Okay, so let's just be completely honest here. They argue the shift endorsed by President Joe Biden will harm childhood development. It will. Increase mental health issues. It will. Cause more motor vehicle accidents. It will. Lead to higher rates of heart disease and cancer. It will. All of this is backed up by research. But the attorneys general say this is about politics for the Biden administration, which is also true. Dale, why do you hate marijuana but love to drink beer? Because I'm a hypocrite. That's why. That's why I do it. I understand it. I got it. But it doesn't mean we should allow more harmful things.
Number 2.
Alabama U.S. Representatives Jerry Carl, Republican out of Mobile, Dale Strong, my congressman, out of Monrovia, were part of a contingent of congressional Republicans who joined House Speaker Mike Johnson out of Louisiana to restore U.S. flags at Union Station in Washington, D.C. after pro-Hamas protesters removed them and burned them during a demonstration against Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's speech to Congress. Make no mistake about it, folks. Make no mistake about this. Listen to the words. This was a pro-Hamas protest. On monuments, they wrote, Hamas is coming. And I just think to myself, if Hamas does come, are they going to go after the queers for Palestine first? I think they probably will. Some members of Congress, overwhelmingly Democrats, did boycott the speech. And the ones that did attend held up signs like that said war criminal and things like that. Just embarrassing nonsense.
Now, time for the number 1 thing you'll be talking about today.
The real orange man bad. President Joe Biden attempted, and that's what it was an attempt. He tried his best, and I'm sure old Jilly Bean was there to say, you did it. You gave a speech all by yourself. You're such a big boy. And they hugged, and the media told us it was a beautiful moment. Look, you know who else hugs? Criminals when they're sentenced to jail. They hug their spouse. That's what this was more like. But he attempted to speak to America about his decision to back out of the presidential race like a bitch while arguing for democracy. Democracy's in quotes, by the way. Their form of democracy is giving them what they want. And that's essentially it. And by the way, aren't we supposed to stop this whole, Donald Trump's a threat to democracy? Weren't we going to stop that because someone killed him? And that was probably one of the reasons. Anyway, he gave that speech poorly. The media loved it because they're idiots. Former President Donald Trump criticized President Biden's Oval Office address, calling it barely understandable, which is being kind, and expressing that Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris are an embarrassment to America, which is also being very kind. So Donald Trump is cutting these people some slack. I don't know why he's doing it, but he is doing it. And if you watched the speech last night, and I watched it, if you watch this thing, you saw a man in decline who knows he's in decline, and I have a feeling we have not seen the end of President Joe Biden. Will Kamala Harris be president before this election? I don't know. I think it's very possible that she is at some point in time president of the United States before November comes. Joe Biden is on a fast track to nowhere. And they're hugging him, and it's as if they are saying goodbye to someone who is about to die, because that's what it looks like. It's very sad. It's all very sad. Nobody should be reveling in this at all. It's embarrassing for him. It's sad. This will be his long-lasting public image, heavily tanned, looking like he's out of his mind. If you go watch it and watch him blink. His eyes sort of blink slowly. If you watch, they almost don't blink together. It's like bloop, bloop. Bloop, bloop. Go watch it. It's a very strange thing, but that's just my analysis. You can offer up your analysis right here. It is always very easy for you to get involved. All you do is pick up the phone, 866-494-WVNN. That is the QC Connects free speech phone lines. Or you can jump in here right now on the scoutpestcontrol.com WVNN hot take text line. That number, 866-494-WVNN. Matt Curtis will be with us here in just a little bit. Don't forget, coming up around 8:20, a parental roundtable. Grant's custody's on the line. Stay tuned.
Get WVNN's Dale Jackson's 7 Things You Should Be Talking About Today right in your email box every morning. Go to yellowhammernews.com and sign up today.